Welcome back to the Soul Food Podcast. I'm Michael Vakelic.
And I'm Shannon Meier. Together we share insights and conversations to help you cultivate joy, peace, and prosperity while unlocking your limitless potential.
Yes, get ready for a transformative journey filled with laughter, strategies, and lively discussions that will inspire you to thrive in every area of your life.
Hello, Michael. So nice to have you here.
Hello, Jeannette. Always nice to see you and interact with you and
Mm-hmm.
share wisdom um, that will help a lot of different people. Uh,
Yes.
and we were just talking about, well, the importance of stories and some of the things that you've gone through or I've gone through, and we were sharing, a little bit about this and that. And I also shared that, well, I like to be very positive about everything. Okay. I really like to be upbeat about things. Okay. It's incredibly important. Um, And the story I was asking to share today, that we talked about briefly, isn't so positive, but it has a great positive outcome.
And it shows that everyone can have those type of stories. I mean, can go through difficult moments or not even knowing that going through difficult moments because you were too young, but
Right,
that
right,
somehow affect your day to day and you don't know it, no, until you discover it one day.
right. Well, yes. Okay, so I'll share some of this story.
Yeah,
Um,
thank you.
okay, so I think it's I've shared in the past that our family, we had a small home, in the beginning it was just myself, my sister, mom and dad, okay?
Hmm.
And we didn't have a lot. They struggled a lot, okay? And they had different patterns that they inherited from their parents, and then, their parents inherited from the parents before. So, I mean, these go back generation after generation, for many, many, many years. So what I want to talk about today is the subject of trauma, physical or mental trauma. Okay. And what I learned from it. Okay. I actually experienced this when I was the first time I experienced it, because I did experience it many different times growing up. Uh, how did I learn about this? Well, probably when I started to get really curious about why I kept running into these obstacles, something good would always turn into something painful. It's like, how does this keep happening? So you start to get really curious. It's like, wait a minute, I don't see it in that person. Why is this happening? So you start to question things. You start
Mm-hmm.
to look for answers. You start to ask for answers, and then the answers come. Anyway, so I found out basically that there was some physical abuse that had happened when I was very young. The reason I found out is I was about probably just getting out of high school, going off to the military. I started to have a lot of pain in my body. It had grown over the years, but it was in my neck and back. And I had gone in to see an osteopath, and and then I ended up seeing chiropractors for many years after this, okay? But the osteopath pointed out to me, wow, Mike, your spine, every one of how the spine has the little
Yeah,
ends on each
yeah.
one of the vertebrae. Well, mine
Mm-hmm.
were all curled over.
Oh, wow.
And he said, what happened when you were in your development years? Something happened here, because this is typically what we see when there was a major impact, or something happened. And I had no idea. So it was the first I heard of it. So one day I'm talking with my mom and I'm sharing this with her. And I could see this concern come over her face, and she was looking at me, and I think she was really hesitant to tell
Mm-hmm.
me
Mm-hmm.
uh, what had gone on. But apparently, I knew of different things as I was older. But at 2 years old, I'm out with a family. We're taking a little day trip out to the lake. My grandfather was there, my grandmother, my aunt, and then my mom, my dad, and me, and my sister, Connie. Connie, though, was a newborn. I mean, she was very, very small. Oh, and anyway, my sister. I decided I mean, at 2 years old, I am just having a blast, right? Wow. I mean, I've always loved nature. Okay. So
Yeah.
I'm out walking and I'm kind of like, what, how this was explained to me. I'm kind of, jumping up and down, walking through the grass. I'm having such a good time and it's sunny, it's warm, it's summer. I'm just really enjoying myself. Apparently, my dad was trying to call me and I wasn't responding. So he all of a sudden, came up from behind me, picked me up,
Mm-hmm.
and threw me back across the road. And I landed at the feet of my grandparents. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So this was like a heavy duty impact.
Yeah.
All right. And this has affected my spinal cord and my neck and different things.
Yeah.
So why am I sharing this? Okay, this happened many times throughout my childhood. I'm playing baseball, playing running bases, and just with two friends in the backyard. And I was a baseball nut. I loved playing baseball, and we're throwing the ball back and forth. We're playing. I don't know if you know what running bases is, but
Yeah,
it's
I do, but
one person's running and two
mm-hmm.
people are at the base, and you try to steal the base. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so we're just having a good time. Apparently, my dad was in the garage, not having a good day, and we stopped because the kids behind were throwing trash over the yard. So, one of my friends said, "Hey, stop throwing it over here, please." And anyway, we're standing there taking a little break, and this horrific look on these guys' face. I'm like, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" My dad was coming up behind me, grabbed me by the hair, and lifted me up and tossed me in the house. I mean, dragged me into the house and threw me into the house. I mean, these kind of things happened, okay? And it was just explosive type events that happened. All right, so what's the point of the story? There were a lot of different things where I always felt like, wow, what am I doing wrong? My mind would question, go into
Mm-hmm.
this confusion. It's like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I'm being reprimanded. I must not be doing something right. This man really, this is my father. I look up to him. I mean, especially when
Yeah.
you're a small kid, you're like, okay, uh, you look to your parents for everything.
Mm.
Okay. So I was very confused about I really hadn't done anything, but I could remember how it would affect me later on. Anything good that was happening in my life would lead
Mm.
to something tumultuous. Boom, this happens. Boom, that happens. Oh, okay. So what's the point? The whole point is I carried around anger for a while. I carried around resentment. And all that did was make it worse. It just makes it worse. The beautiful spiritual knowledge that I have learned as I prayed, as I got curious, as I learned, anytime you're resentful toward anyone, or you're angry toward anyone, or you judge someone, you're judging yourself. You're bringing it back to you.
Mm.
The only way over the years, that I learned to clear this, and this is beautiful wisdom, and I want the people who are dealing with anger,
Yeah.
irritation, frustration, whatever, at some level, or they've had trauma, mental or physical. I could go on about all kinds of stories that happened in my life that were just abrupt and you weren't expecting them. The whole point is not to blame the person who had done this. They're doing what they were trained to do by their parents, what they're familiar with. Their parents were familiar with it from their parents. So this goes back generation after generation after generation. And the only way to really start healing this, we can talk about forgiveness. Yes, you need to forgive that person, but it's so, but we're very much in the mind when we're forgiving. Okay.
Mhm.
The mind is all about the forgiveness. Okay. But that it's a good place to start. When you can forgive what happened, when you can forgive and see the situation differently, like I had to look at my father like, okay, as a little child, I'm he went through the same thing. He doesn't know any better. This is the way he thinks it is to discipline people. So this is the way he's taken action. Even though I hadn't done anything, it's very confusing. And for many years, I really thought I questioned myself because I was always becoming reprimanded for just being me,
Mm.
for just doing me, for just showing up as me, for playing baseball with the guys, right? Getting into a baseball game or, running or I would go off with my aunt. She had a new convertible. I'd come back, and here we go. It's like anytime I was having fun, I think my dad was actually jealous. One part of it. Okay. So
Mm.
this is a very unhealed uh, person who was raising children. But the point is not to get resentful or angry or judgmental toward the person, to actually see them as this is what they know. Forgive them for all the things that happen, no matter how much pain I have, no matter what it shows up as in my life. This is the way to heal it. This is the way that I put it behind me. This is the way that I broke that pattern, that I broke that generational pattern that had been happening in our family for many millennia, probably. Okay. Then it was worse. I've talked to some different psychics and it was worse the farther back you go. Okay. So is this making sense? How to really let this go, how to heal this is not about being resentful, angry, upset. All that does is create more resentment, anger, and upset. Okay. Judging, blaming, you're because we're all one, as you judge and blame and condemn someone, you're also hurting yourself. You're creating this again and again in your life. And as I would react to these things, I would create more of it. I'd just bring more of it. It was a repetitive cycle that I'm like, how do I get out of this? Beautiful things would happen in my life. And there I was standing there in pain, from something that happened, some event, some relationship, some conversation, some whatever it was. Okay. And I mean, it happened in so many ways. And I won't go into all the stories, but I could just be walking home from school and, these things would happen. So out of the blue, I'm all happy and hey, everything's great. And boom, you know. So what I'm saying is, the way that I really healed this was to actually see the person with compassion,
Mhm.
see the person with unconditional love, which is really difficult to do. I
Mhm.
understand this, okay? Especially when there's physical and mental abuse involved, where you're questioning yourself, you're doubting. I mean, I didn't think it was okay to just be me. for a lot of years. I'm like, wait, you doubt yourself, you
Mm.
doubt your future, you doubt what you're doing. You start looking around all the time, wondering what's happening next. The way to clear it is to drop all the anger and resentment, forgive, which lets the mind lets this whole thing be free. You're free of it. Okay. When you free the mind of it, you free yourself. But really, love is all that's real. The rest
Mm.
is all coming from your mind. So, am I making sense? I would love your feedback, Jeanette.
You're making a lot of sense, and I appreciate so much your open heart. And in
This is not easy for me
no,
to
no, not at all.
go ahead.
That's
Yeah.
why, and because yes, it's an experience, it's a very strong experience, and a lot of during the year happened in the years, no.
Yes.
So really appreciate that, and making sense. Yes, yes, it's I think everyone is dealing always with someone of yeah, someone in which they're resenting or they are judging also because of how this person is affecting, you know, oneself.
Right.
So yes, and what you're saying has also to do in seeing it from another angle, not from your angle. No, the compassion and the love and the understanding outside of you is seeing it, okay,
Hmm.
this person is doing it because, like you were saying, because of all the patterns, not because the, yeah, father has done it, and so on. No, so if you see it from that angle and not the angle of the person hurting you because no, no, it's seeing it. He was also hurt. He
Right.
also had a story. He also, and he did the best he could in what he knew to do in his ways, no? So it's really seeing things from another angle to understand, well, to open and breaking what you are seeing, what you are feeling, no? To be able to be compassionate, to be able to release, no? To let go and forgive, because you are seeing it from
Right.
another angle.
Right. Well,
No?
and of course, in our teachings, our higher teachings, higher
Mm-hmm.
knowledge, higher wisdom, divine intelligence, um, I mean, there's a lot of things I could say here.
Mm.
Okay. First of all, because the mind took on some belief, I continue to experience this,
Yeah.
okay, throughout my life. When things were going well, there was always something lurking, okay,
Mm-hmm.
something would come up.
Mm.
This happened again and again and again. And the more I reacted, the more I resented the old way of feeling that I felt when I was a child. Um, would come back. It is the same emotion coming back again. And that emotion, that chemistry that comes up in the body from the mind, from the pituitary gland, I mean, the hypothalamus, the pituitary gland. Anyway, there's this chemistry that comes back from that emotional state that ties us all the way back to the past events.
Mm.
So breaking that chain is really important. This is how we move away from the traumatic responses, I mean, when I was very young, I was petrified to even go to bed.
Yeah, I
I
imagine.
mean, I was terrified. I would
Imagine.
check under the bed. I'd make sure the closets were closed. All the dresser drawers had to be perfectly closed. I mean, I sometimes I'd fall asleep because I never knew what picked
Mm-hmm.
me up from behind.
Yes.
I never knew.
Yeah, incredible.
All of a sudden, I'm flying through the air. I'm like, oh my, I mean, as a kid, how does the
Yeah,
mind
yeah.
process that? It doesn't. Okay.
No.
So it's just confusion.
Mm-hmm.
So for many years until way later, when I found out what this was about, I mean, I had these moments of like, wow, what's going to happen next? You really don't know. Um, but to heal it is to understand it. It's not about blame. it's not about any of that. Um, any what we say to another or what we do to another or how if we judge another, we're judging ourselves.
Yeah.
And we're all one. We have to really get this, okay? This is probably the one of the big spiritual pieces in this. We're all one. So what you say or do or feel about another, what you project toward them,
Mm-hmm.
it's also coming back to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. For me,
And
I
so when
believe.
you can really
Mm-hmm.
see this whole thing with unconditional love, that's when you heal it.
Yeah.
That's when it starts to heal
Yeah.
and situations stop happening and life gets beautiful. I mean, just
Mm-hmm.
the beauty for a while I was always thinking, oh, what's going to happen? What's going to happen?
Mm-hmm.
And it nothing was happening. It was like, wow, look at this. It's actually
Mm-hmm.
going really nice. This is great. I mean, something really great would happen, and that's all it was. Uh, so I really want to help the people who have had this, whether it was emotional, which can be terrible. I mean, when you judge or doubt yourself for what you dealt with as a younger person, especially when you're looking at parents or teachers or something who was an authority figure in your life, okay, and you look up to them. Yep, you're a child. You're looking to them for guidance. And when you don't feel loved or accepted, or the mind can make up all kinds of things. It's not really true. It's not really true. This is another thing I want to express here. None of it is true. It's what the mind made up, what the mind is making true, and it's not really about any of that. It's not true. Is that true about myself? No. But for years, I thought so. I
Mm-hmm.
did. I would doubt what I was doing. I would have question, who I am or what I'm saying. Today, today it's beautiful. I can express anything I want to express, say anything I wish to say. I say it from my heart. With the right intention to always heal others,
Mm-hmm.
that is the entire reason why I got into this work. This is how I got very curious. I started asking a lot. I started, you know, creating intentions. I started connecting with God, and then my guides came in, and I learned all kinds of different things. It's been such a beautiful journey, but to heal this is really important. I mean, especially the people who are dealing with anger or resentment or irritation, frustration on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. It could be very intense.
Mm-hmm.
So I just had to say that, and I could tell all kinds of stories. But this is how we heal it. I hope people understand that. If anyone listens to this and has questions about this, I can help you clear this up.
Yeah.
And I'd love to see you get back to a beautiful, loving life, loving yourself, creating the amazing co-creator that you are with the universe.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what heals everything. So I thank you for letting me share that, Jeanette.
No,
Thank
no, I'm so grateful to you for sharing it, for being who you are, for showing up, and for helping so many people
Yeah.
with what you do. You are the one. You know it because you've been through that. So, and you know it because you also have healed yourself. So, to be able to help others in this kind of situations, it's important to have been able to have had the same experiences, similar experiences, because then what you're saying, it's because you've overcome it.
Yes. Yes. And it was a journey. I mean, there
Mm-hmm.
was a time I was very upset with my mom too, because
Yeah.
things would happen and she was terrified. I was
Mm-hmm.
terrified.
Mm-hmm.
We were terrified. It's like, oh, how do we deal with this? I don't know. But
Yeah.
as I learned and I started to grow through this, I would look at her, which created great relationships for me in the beginning, but anyway, I would look at her and like, Mom, why aren't you sticking up for me? I mean, look, I'm this kid.
Mhm.
Um, she was petrified, and I
Yes.
understand it. So I forgive it all. I forgive it all. Okay. They know what they know from what they've experienced. And these generational, this, this generational wisdom that we've carried with us doesn't help. I mean,
Mm-mm.
God, why are you doing this? Or it's not
No,
about that.
no,
Okay. So there's so much I could go into here, but I hope people really get this. This is really important. This is like the first step to understanding and looking at this differently. Um, and this first step to forgiving all that has happened. And I've worked with clients who are still very angry, and it took a long time to get past that. Okay, they're stuck. But you have to understand the longer you decide, because you're
mhm,
deciding, the longer you decide to stay stuck in this resentment or anger, or you keep reacting, this is just a chemistry that keeps coming back from
mhm,
things you've learned as you were younger. The longer you stay stuck there, the longer you're going to keep repeating it again and again and again. So it's not about telling the story over and over and over again so you feel better.
no,
No, no, wrong. I mean, that doesn't heal it.
no,
Doesn't. So
no. It's not about reviewing it, no, reviewing it and reviewing it. It's not that you have to go through that again.
right.
It's more what you're saying. Yes,
So important. So
yes.
important. So I would love to hear, I mean, okay, we can lighten the whole thing up. And I
Mhm,
know how serious this is, but I'm proof you
mhm,
can heal anything.
mhm,
Anything. I'm serious. You can heal anything. Anything that's happened, anything that's gone on in your life. y- You know, I mean, I had to learn a lot. I mean, I lost a lot of money. I lost my home at one point. I'm like, just these things kept happening. I'm like, holy cow. Uh, so I had a lot I could be very resentful and angry over, but that just kept creating more of it. All
yeah,
right.
yeah.
That's not the point. But please, Jeanette, I'd love to hear,
No,
love to
no,
hear what you have.
no. For me, today I really wouldn't like to say much more
Okay.
because I'm not able to. I understand it, no, and I see it, and but I think your experience and it's it's important to leave it as the key point and
Okay.
for today's podcast. I think it's very important
Yes.
because it's powerful and it's very could be very helpful for many. So I really want to give it this importance.
Okay. Okay. I understand that. I do. All right. Thank you for letting me share that. I didn't know if I would ever, talk about this really, but
Mhm.
this is some of the deeper work that we can do. We can release anything. And it is about a different perspective. It is about knowing that, I mean, I learned beautiful things about how self-love. I've learned
Mhm.
beautiful things about my own power, my own
Yeah.
ability.
Yes.
I've learned so many things from those experiences. So it's always our choice. It's
Hmm.
We can carry around this resentment and anger and be over here and just keep recreating the same life, or we can step into learning and growth and understand how beautiful life is,
Hmm.
even though sometimes it's tough.
Hmm.
The things we go through are all about our learning, all about our healing. God wants us to heal, okay? No matter what your background is. Some people have had very beautiful lives and never deal with this, or maybe they did in a long time ago, and it's healed, it's gone. And some people still have these types of things, and this is the way to heal them. So, um,
Yes,
Thank you.
and thank you. This applies for everything at the end, for the day to day, for everything. Don't get stuck into what happened and the way you're seeing it. Give it a turn it around, see it from a different angle. And someone might have a bad day. You never know what happened to the other person when they are attacking
Right.
you. So it's really about not being traumatized I mean the day to days and with those things and keeping them inside of you that it's at the end hurting yourself.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Um, this is why unconditional love is so important. And learning to see all that is, or all your experiences and all the people you interact with, learning to see them with unconditional love. I mean, then you break the chains. You break
Mhm.
those chains. Yeah.
Mm. Mm. Thank you so much, Michael. Thank you so
Okay, you're
much.
welcome. Absolutely. And thank you for letting me share that. I mean, um, you can heal.
Hmm.
That's my last words. You can heal anything, anything that has happened. And it's not as difficult as the world would have you think.
Yes, and the mind.
Right. Exactly. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.